This happened back in 2018. I was living in a suburb just outside of Philadelphia, working a dead-end retail job at the King of Prussia Mall. If you know that mall, you know it is absolutely massive. It's a city in itself. During the holidays, it turns into a total zoo. I'm talking about a level of chaos that makes you question humanity. I was working at this high-end electronics store, dealing with entitled parents and screaming kids for 8 hours straight. It was December 23rd, the second to last day before Christmas, and the energy in the place was frantic. People were desperate. My shift ended at 11 p.m. The mall officially closed at 10, but we had to stay behind to recover the store, basically fixing the disaster zone the customers left behind so it looked pristine for the Christmas Eve rush the next morning. By the time I punched out, I was running on fumes. My feet were throbbing, and I had that specific headache you get from listening to Mariah Carey on a loop for 6 weeks. I said bye to my manager, grabbed my coat, and headed out the back employee exit. Usually, employee parking is designated for the roof of the green garage, way out in the boonies, to save the good spots for shoppers. It was freezing that night. The wind was whipping around the concrete pillars, and the air smelled like exhaust and snow. I was walking toward the stairwell when I saw a guy standing near the railing on the level below mine, looking out over the parking lot. He was dressed as Santa Claus. Now, seeing a Santa at a mall in December isn't weird, but seeing one at 11:15 p.m., standing alone in a dark parking garage in freezing weather, that's weird. And this wasn't the high-quality, professional suit the official mall Santa wears. This thing looked like he bought it at a Spirit Halloween on clearance. The red velvet was matted and dark, almost maroon, and the white fur trim was gray and stringy. I kept walking, clutching my keys in my pocket. I just wanted to get to my car, blast the heat, and go home. As I reached the stairwell door, the metal echoed. The guy looked up. From the distance, maybe 50 feet, I couldn't see his eyes, but I felt them. He didn't wave. He just stood there, rigid, staring up at me. I pushed through the heavy door into the stairwell. The concrete stairs amplified every sound. My boots were loud. Then I heard a soft jingle. It was coming from the floor I had just left, the door I had just let close. He had entered the stairwell behind me. My stomach did a backflip. I told myself to chill out. Maybe he was just another employee who dressed up for work and was heading to his car too. But the pace of the jingling bells didn't match a tired retail worker trudging to their car. It was fast. He was moving quickly down the stairs. I skipped the last 3 steps of the flight and burst out onto the level where I parked. Level 4. It was dimly lit. Half the fluorescent tubes were flickering or burnt out, casting these long, twitchy shadows against the walls. My car was parked way in the back corner. Of course, I started speed walking. I didn't want to run because that feels like admitting you're scared, you know? It makes it real. So I just walked with purpose. Behind me, the stairwell door slammed open. I didn't look back. I just listened. The jingling was gone. Now it was just the heavy, wet slap of boots on concrete, and a dragging sound. I fished my keys out, my thumb hovering over the unlock button. I was maybe 20 yards from my car when I heard a voice. "Hey, buddy!" It was deep, gravelly, not a Santa voice. It sounded like a guy who had been smoking a pack a day for 30 years. "You dropped something," he yelled. I patted my pockets instinctively. Phone, wallet, keys. I had everything. It was the oldest trick in the book. I ignored him and picked up my pace. I was practically jogging now. "I said wait up!" The voice was closer now, angry. I pressed the unlock button on my fob. The car lights flashed amber in the distance. It was the most welcoming sight I'd ever seen. I reached the driver's side door and yanked it open. I threw my backpack onto the passenger seat and dove in. As I was reaching for the door handle to pull it shut, a gloved hand slammed onto the glass. It was a white glove, stained with grease and something dark that looked like dried rust. I screamed. I'm not gonna lie, I let out a sound I didn't know I could make. The Santa was right there. Up close, he looked terrifying. The beard was fake, obviously, but it was hanging off one side of his face, revealing a patch of pockmarked, scarred skin underneath. His eyes were bloodshot, wide, and frantic. He smelled like cheap vodka and unwashed clothes. He wasn't holding a sack of toys. He was dragging a black contractor trash bag that looked heavy, lumpy. "Open the door," he hissed. He yanked on the handle, but I had already hit the lock button the second I was inside. "Get away from me," I shouted, jamming my key into the ignition. He started pounding on the window. "Open the door! I got a present for you! Open it!" The glass shook with every hit. I was terrified it was going to shatter. This guy wasn't playing around. He was putting his full weight into it. He raised his other hand, the one that wasn't banging on the glass, and I saw he was holding a screwdriver, a long flathead screwdriver with a yellow handle. He swung it. The tip of the screwdriver chipped the glass right near my ear. A spider web of fractures instantly spread across the window. I turned the key. The engine sputtered. "No, no, come on," I begged. The cold always made the battery finicky. He swung again. The glass buckled inward, raining tiny shards onto my lap and shoulder. Freezing air rushed into the car. He reached his hand in through the hole, groping for the lock, trying to grab my shoulder. "Gotcha now, you little crap," he snarled. His hand clamped onto my coat. I slammed my foot on the gas while the car was still, in park, revving the engine to redline. The noise was deafening in the concrete garage. I think it startled him because his grip loosened for a split second. I threw the gear shift into reverse. I didn't check my mirrors. I didn't look. I just floored it. The car shot backward. The open door clipped him, or maybe the side mirror did. I heard a thud and a yelp, and then he was gone from my window. I spun the wheel, threw it into drive, and burned rubber getting out of that spot. My heart was hammering so hard, I thought I was going to pass out. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was standing up. He wasn't chasing me anymore. He was just standing there in the middle of the driving lane, that screwdriver in one hand, the black trash bag in the other, watching me drive away. I sped down the ramps, tires squealing around every turn. I didn't stop until I was on the highway, merging into traffic. I drove for 10 minutes before I finally pulled into a brightly lit gas station and called for help. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. I told the dispatcher everything: the Santa suit, the screwdriver, the parking garage. I waited there for the state troopers. When they arrived, I gave them my statement. They looked at the shattered window and the scratch marks on the door. They took it seriously, which I was grateful for. Here is the part that makes my blood run cold whenever I think about it. They went back to the mall. They searched the parking garage. They didn't find the guy. He had obviously booked it as soon as I left. But they found the trash bag. He had ditched it behind a concrete pillar near where my car had been parked. Maybe it was too heavy to run with, or maybe he panicked. The police told me later what was inside. It wasn't stolen merchandise. It wasn't electronics from the store. The bag was filled with duct tape, zip ties, a hacksaw, and a gallon of bleach. And right at the bottom, buried under all that hardware, was a notebook. It was a list of license plate numbers and descriptions of drivers. Blonde woman, red SUV. Older man, limp, blue Ford. And the last entry, scribbled in frantic handwriting: kid, alone, Honda Accord. he hadn't just stumbled upon me. He had been watching the employee exit. He had been cataloging us, waiting for the right target, someone small enough or tired enough to overpower. He was using the Santa costume because it let him loiter around the mall without people calling security immediately. Who questions a Santa at a mall 2 days before Christmas? They never caught the guy. The security cameras in that part of the garage were dummy cameras. Fake plastic shells just there to deter theft. They didn't record a single frame. I quit that job over the phone the next morning. I didn't even go back for my last paycheck. To this day, I can't do malls. I order everything online. So, yeah, enjoy your holiday shopping. Just watch your back in the parking lot. Because that guy might not be there to spread joy. He might be checking his list to see if you're alone. I'm not going to lie. It's taken me about 5 years to even be able to write this down without getting the shakes. You know how people say they love the silence of winter? How the snow muffles everything and the world feels peaceful? That's garbage. Absolute garbage. Silence isn't peaceful. Silence is just a vacuum waiting to be filled by something you don't want to hear. This happened back in 2018. I was 28 at the time, living in Chicago, but I was broke. I mean, eating ramen dry because I couldn't afford the water bill kind of broke. So when my buddy Dave told me his aunt needed a house sitter for her place up in Wisconsin for 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year's, I didn't just say yes. I practically begged for it. She was offering $500 a week, plus a fully stocked fridge. The house was one of those massive A-frame cabins near Lake Geneva. Not in the touristy part, though. It was set back in the woods, down a long gravel driveway that was currently buried under about 6 inches of fresh powder. Dave's aunt, a nice lady named Carol, met me there on the 20th. She gave me the tour, showed me how to work the overly complicated thermostat, and gave me the rundown on the security system. It's a safe area, she told me, handing me a heavy ring of keys. But the woods get dark, and we're the last house on the private road. Just keep the alarm set at night. It makes me feel better. I told her not to worry. I'm a city kid. Locking doors is muscle memory for me. She left. I unloaded my sad little duffel bag, and for the first 2 days, it was paradise. I drank expensive scotch, watched cable on a TV the size of a billboard, and enjoyed the fact that my heating worked. Things got weird on the 23rd. I had driven into town to grab some snacks, mostly junk food that Carol wouldn't have in her keto-friendly pantry. When I got back, the sun was already setting. It was that gray, flat light you get right before a storm. I parked my car in the driveway, grabbed my bags, and started walking to the front door. That's when I noticed the footprints. They weren't mine. I was wearing Timberland boots with a heavy tread. These prints were smooth, like someone was wearing dress shoes or sneakers with no grip. And they didn't lead to the door. They started at the edge of the woods, went halfway up the driveway, circled my car once, and then went back into the trees. I stood there for a second, the grocery bags cutting into my fingers, just staring at the snow. My stomach did a little flip. I told myself it was probably a delivery driver who got confused, or maybe a neighbor checking to see if Carol was home. But why circle the empty spot where my car usually sat? I went inside and locked the deadbolt. I checked the back door, the side door, and even the windows. Everything was tight. I spent the rest of the night jumping at every creak the house made. And let me tell you, big wooden houses in the winter, they talk. They groan and pop as the temperature drops. Every noise sounded like a footstep. Christmas Eve came around, and a blizzard hit hard. The wind was howling. rattling the big pane windows in the living room. I was trying to distract myself with a marathon of old NBA games, just chilling on the couch with a blanket. It was around 9 p.m. I got up to grab a beer from the kitchen. The kitchen had a window that looked out over the backyard, which was basically just a deck, and then endless pine trees. I didn't turn the kitchen light on, so the room was dark, but the yard was illuminated by the floodlight that was on a motion sensor. The light was on. I froze, the beer bottle sweating in my hand. The snow was coming down in thick sheets, swirling in the wind, but I could see the deck clearly. There was nothing there. No deer, no raccoon, nothing. I waited for the light to time out and turn off. It usually took about 30 seconds. 1 minute passed, then 2. The light stayed on. That meant it was still detecting motion. I leaned closer to the glass, squinting. At the very edge of the light's reach, right where the deck ended and the darkness of the woods began, there was a shape. It wasn't moving much, just swaying slightly with the wind. It looked like a person. I dropped to a crouch instantly, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I crawled over to the counter and grabbed the landline phone Carol kept on the wall. I didn't have any service on my cell out here, another charming feature of the rustic experience. I peeked over the counter. The figure was gone. The light clicked off. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Paranoia, I thought. It was a tree branch, a shadow. You're losing it, Mike. I didn't sleep in the master bedroom that night. I slept on the couch in the living room with a fire poker on the floor next to me. Christmas morning was bright and blindingly white. The storm had passed. I spent the morning shoveling the walkway, trying to burn off the adrenaline from the night before. I was almost convinced I had imagined the whole thing until I walked around to the back deck. The snow on the deck was undisturbed, smooth, perfect white. But directly under the kitchen window, the one I had been looking out of, there was a single object resting on the wood. It was a small red Christmas ornament, one of those cheap glass balls you buy in a pack of 20 at Walmart. Carol's decorations were expensive, hand-carved wood, blown glass from Germany. She didn't have cheap red balls. And even if she did, why was it sitting outside, perfectly placed in the center of the deck, with no footprints around it? That's when the cold really hit me. It wasn't the wind, it was the realization that someone had thrown it there, or placed it there before the snow stopped, and the fresh layer covered their tracks. I went back inside and locked the door. I grabbed the landline to call Dave, just to hear a friendly voice. Maybe ask him if his aunt had a weird neighbor. The line was dead, no dial tone, just static. "Okay," I said out loud. My voice sounded small in the big vaulted room. "Okay, power lines are down. It's a blizzard. Normal stuff." But the power was on. The TV was working. It was just the phone line. I decided I was leaving. Screw the $500. I'd pack up, drive into town, find a motel, and call Carol from there. I ran upstairs to the guest room where my stuff was. I threw my clothes into the duffel bag, not bothering to fold them. I grabbed my toothbrush from the bathroom and zipped the bag shut. I was halfway down the stairs when I heard a clear thump. It came from the basement. The basement door was in the hallway, right next to the kitchen. I had never gone down there. Carol said it was just storage and the furnace. I stood on the stairs, gripping the banister. The house was dead silent again. Another sound. It sounded like something heavy being dragged across concrete. I didn't go investigate. I'm not a horror movie character. I bolted for the front door, grabbed my keys, and threw the door open. My car was there, but the hood was popped open. I ran to it, snow crunching under my boots, and lifted the hood. The battery was gone. Just gone. The cables were dangling there, cut clean with something sharp. I stood there in the driveway, snow soaking into my socks, staring at the empty space where the battery used to be. I was trapped. I turned back to the house. It loomed over me, looking massive and dark against the white sky. I had to go back in. It was 10 degrees outside. I'd freeze to death if I tried to walk to town. I ran back inside and locked the door behind me. I pushed the heavy oak console table in front of it. I went to the back door and wedged a kitchen chair under the handle. I grabbed the biggest knife from the butcher block in the kitchen. "I called the police!" I yelled out, my voice cracking. "They're on their way! You better get out!" It was a bluff, obviously, but I hoped it would scare whoever was down there. Silence. I retreated to the living room because it had the best visibility. I could see the stairs, the front door, and the hallway leading to the basement. I sat in the corner, knife in one hand, fire poker in the other, and I waited. Hours passed. The sun started to go down. The shadows in the house got longer, stretching out like fingers reaching for me. Around 6 p.m., I needed to use the bathroom. I held it as long as I could, but eventually I had to go. The downstairs powder room was right next to the basement door. I walked slowly, keeping my back to the wall. I listened at the basement door. Nothing. I stepped into the bathroom, did my business fast, and washed my hands. As I was drying them, I looked in the mirror. The bathroom door behind me was open a crack. Through that crack, I could see the basement door in the hallway. The knob on the basement door was turning. It was slow, agonizingly slow. The brass knob rotated to the right, then stopped. Then it rotated back. I couldn't breathe. I watched in the mirror, paralyzed. The door pushed open, just an inch. I spun around and kicked the bathroom door shut and locked it. I backed up against the sink, knife raised. "I have a gun!" I screamed. "I swear to God, I'll shoot!" From the hallway, a voice spoke. It was soft, raspy, like someone who hadn't used their vocal cords in a long time. "No peeking!" the voice giggled. It was a man's voice, but pitched high, mocking. "Santa hasn't come yet." Then, heavy footsteps, not heading toward the bathroom, but walking away, toward the kitchen. I heard the fridge open, the clink of glass bottles. He was getting a beer. I realized then that this guy wasn't trying to rob the place. If he wanted to rob it, he would have done it already. He was getting comfortable. He was playing with me. I checked the bathroom window. It was small, one of those tiny frosted ones for ventilation, but I was skinny. I cranked the handle. It was frozen shut. I used the butt of the knife to smash the ice around the seal. It popped open. I didn't care about the cold. I squeezed through, scraping my ribs and tearing my shirt. I tumbled out into the snow on the side of the house. I scrambled up and ran. I didn't run down the driveway. I figured he'd see me. I ran straight into the woods. The snow was thigh-deep in some places. I kept falling, smashing my shins against hidden logs. I didn't look back. I just focused on the tree line ahead. I knew there was another house about a mile through the woods, a vacation rental that looked occupied when I drove in. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs felt like lead. It must have been 20 minutes, maybe 30. Finally, I saw lights through the trees. I burst out of the woods and into a cleared backyard. There was a family inside. I could see them through the sliding glass doors. A mom, a dad, 2 kids opening presents. I must have looked like a maniac. I banged on the glass, screaming for help, waving the knife I forgot I was still holding. The dad jumped up, looked terrified, and grabbed a phone. He pointed at me, yelling something I couldn't hear. I dropped the knife in the snow and put my hands up. "Help me!" I screamed. "There's someone in the house! Please!" Eventually, he opened the door a crack, keeping a safe distance. I explained everything, gasping for air. He let me into the mudroom and called the police. It took the sheriff 40 minutes to get out there because of the roads. We drove back to Carol's place in the squad car. The house was dark when we pulled up. The front door was wide open. The cops went in first, guns drawn. I waited in the car, shivering under a blanket the neighbor gave me. They were in there for a long time. When the sheriff came out, he looked pale. He walked over to the car and motioned for me to roll down the window. "We didn't find anyone," he said. "He must have bailed when he realized you got out." I felt a wave of nausea. "Did you check the basement?" "Yeah," the sheriff said. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, son, you need to see this." I didn't want to, but I followed him inside. They led me to the basement. It wasn't just a storage room. In the back corner, behind a stack of old holiday decorations, there was a cot set up. There was a sleeping bag, a bucket, and piles of candy wrappers. "How long?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Hard to say," the sheriff said. "But look at the wall." Above the cot, taped to the concrete wall, were photos. Dozens of them. They were photos of me. Photos of me sleeping on the couch. Photos of me eating in the kitchen. Photos of me taken through the bathroom window. But the worst ones were the old ones. There were photos of me walking down the street in Chicago. Photos of me at my job. Photos of me entering my apartment building. This guy hadn't broken in randomly. He hadn't just stumbled upon the house. He had followed me. He had followed me all the way from Chicago, 4 hours north. He waited for me to be alone in the woods. And then the sheriff handed me a piece of paper they found on the pillow of the cot. It was a piece of Carol's stationery. Written in shaky block letters, it said, "All I wanted was a Christmas card. You never replied to my letters." My blood ran cold. I stared at the handwriting. It looked familiar. "Who is it?" the sheriff asked. I swallowed hard. "My dad," I whispered. He's supposed to be in a mental health facility in Nevada. I haven't seen him in 10 years. The sheriff put out an APB, but the woods were vast and the snow had covered the tracks again. They never found him. I didn't stay to finish the job. Carol understood. It turned out that my dad had probably escaped from the mental hospital all this time. He was stalking me all along. I don't feel safe anymore, because I know that he is still out there, waiting for a reply. I never believed in bad vibes. I'm a numbers guy, a contractor. I look at a house and I see square footage, load-bearing walls, and profit margins. That's why when I saw the listing for the Victorian on Elm Street in mid-November, I didn't see a haunted house. I saw a steal. It was a foreclosure, sold as is, and the bank just wanted it off their books before the fiscal year ended. I closed the deal on December 20th. I was 32, single, and arrogant enough to think I could renovate the entire ground floor by myself over the holidays. My plan was simple: sleep on an air mattress in the living room, work 18-hour days, and have the place ready to flip by spring. The house was in a historic district in Cincinnati, not the gentrified part with the cute coffee shops, but the edge of it, where the streetlights flicker and the houses have bars on the basement windows. It was a massive, drafty thing with peeling wallpaper and floorboards that groaned if you even looked at them wrong. I moved in on December 23rd. The weather was brutal, single digits and a wind that rattled the old sash windows in their frames. I spent the first day just trying to get the furnace to do something other than cough up dust. By nightfall, I had the living room up to a tolerable 55 degrees. I set up my base camp in the center of the living room. A queen-sized air mattress, a space heater, my toolbox, and a cooler full of sandwiches and energy drinks. It was lonely, yeah. My parents lived about 40 minutes away in the suburbs, and they had begged me to come stay with them for Christmas, but I was stubborn. I told them I'd drive over for dinner on Christmas Day, but I needed to secure the property and get a head start on the demo. The first night was uneventful, mostly. Just the sounds of an old house settling. Or that's what I told myself. There were pops, creaks, and the occasional scuffing sound from the ceiling, like a squirrel running across the joists. I made a mental note to buy traps. Christmas Eve is when things got weird. I was tearing out some old water-damaged drywall in the hallway around 8 p.m. I had the radio blasting classic rock to drown out the silence. I stopped to take a sip of water, and that's when I noticed the attic hatch. It was in the ceiling of the hallway, just a square of plywood painted over a dozen times to match the ceiling. But the paint around the edges was cracked. Not old, hairline cracks from age. Fresh, jagged cracks, like someone had pushed it up recently. I grabbed my stepladder and a flashlight. I'm not a fearful guy, but standing under that hatch, I felt a cold prickle on the back of my neck. I pushed the plywood up. It moved easily. I shone the light into the darkness. It was freezing up there, seeing your breath kind of cold. The beam cut through the dust motes, revealing pink insulation rolls and wooden beams. Nothing else. No squirrels, no raccoons, no squatters, just an empty, dusty attic. I lowered the hatch and let out a breath. Paranoia, I thought, just the house shifting in the cold. I went back to work, but the feeling didn't leave. You know that sensation when you're in a crowded room and you can feel someone staring at you? It was like that, but I was the only person in a 3,000 square foot house. Around 11 p.m., I decided to call it a night. I was exhausted. I dragged myself to the air mattress and collapsed. Before I turned off the work light I was using as a lamp, I did something I hadn't planned on. I had bought a cheap, motion-activated security camera to put on the front porch, but I hadn't installed it outside yet because of the ice. It was sitting on top of my toolbox. On a whim, I plugged it in and set it on the mantelpiece, facing the living room and the hallway entrance. I told myself it was to catch the squirrel if it came downstairs, or maybe just to prove to myself that I was alone. I zipped up my sleeping bag, pulled my beanie down over my ears, and passed out. I slept heavy. The kind of sleep where you don't dream, you just black out. I woke up on Christmas morning to the sound of my phone alarm. It was 8 a.m. My head was pounding, a dull throb behind my eyes like I was hungover, which was strange since I hadn't had a drink. The house was freezing. The space heater had turned off sometime during the night. I sat up, shivering, and reached for my phone to turn off the alarm. That's when I noticed the first thing wrong. My boots were moved. I always take my boots off and leave them right next to the mattress. It's a habit. But my left boot was standing upright by the mattress, and the right boot was in the middle of the room, lying on its side, about 6 feet away. I stared at it, blinking the sleep out of my eyes. Had I kicked it in my sleep? Maybe. I got up, put on the boots, and walked to the kitchen to make instant coffee. The kitchen was in the back of the house. As I walked past the back door, I stopped cold. The deadbolt was unlocked. I knew for a fact I had locked it. I checked it 3 times before bed. I'm obsessive about security on job sites. I opened the door and looked out at the backyard. It was covered in fresh, pristine snow. There were no footprints leading up to the door. None. If someone had broken in, they hadn't come through the snow. A pit started to form in my stomach. I locked the door again and backed away. "Is anyone here?" I yelled. My voice cracked. It sounded weak in the big, empty room. Silence. I ran back to the living room. I needed to get out of there. I needed to drive to my parents' house, get some food, and maybe come back with my dad and a baseball bat to check the place again. I grabbed my jacket and reached into my pocket for my truck keys. Empty. I checked my other pockets. The hoodie I slept in, the floor around the mattress. Nothing. My keys were gone. Panic is a funny thing. It doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in. I started tearing the room apart, lifting the mattress, dumping the toolbox. I knew I put them on the overturned bucket I was using as a nightstand. Then I remembered the camera. I froze. The little black eye of the camera was still sitting on the mantel, the small green light steady. It had been recording all night. I grabbed the camera and pulled the SD card out. I didn't have a laptop with me, but I had a card reader dongle for my phone so I could review trail cam footage for hunting. I plugged it into my phone with shaking hands. I sat on the edge of the deflated air mattress and opened the file. The first few hours were boring, just me tossing and turning in the sleeping bag. The infrared night vision made my eyes look like glowing white hollows. I scrolled forward. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. At 2:45 a.m., the motion sensor triggered a new clip. I watched, and my blood turned to ice water. In the video, the hallway behind the living room was pitch black. But then, movement. Something pale descended from the ceiling. It was legs. Someone was lowering themselves out of the attic hatch I had checked earlier. They dropped silently to the floor. It was a man. He was skinny, painfully thin, wearing nothing but a pair of dirty, oversized boxers and a tattered gray t-shirt. His hair was long and matted. He stood in the hallway for a full minute, just staring into the living room where I was sleeping. He didn't move a muscle. He looked like a statue. Then he started to creep forward. He moved weirdly, placing his feet carefully, rolling from heel to toe to stay silent. He walked right up to the air mattress. I watched on the tiny screen as this stranger stood over my sleeping body. I was completely oblivious, snoring lightly. The man crouched down. His face was inches from mine. In the night vision, his eyes were wide, unblinking, manic. He reached out a hand. I flinched in real life, watching it. He didn't hit me. He didn't choke me. He gently touched my beard. He ran a filthy finger down my cheek. Then he leaned in and sniffed me. He took a long, deep inhale right at my neck. I gagged, covering my mouth with my hand. It was the most violated I have ever felt in my life. The man on the screen stayed there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, just watching me, touching my hair. At one point, he laid down on the floor next to the air mattress, mirroring my position, just staring at my face. Then, at 3:15 a.m., he sat up. He looked toward the bucket where my stuff was. He picked up my keys. He didn't make a sound. Then he picked up my phone. My heart stopped. He had my phone? But I had my phone right now. In the video, the man held my phone up. He pressed the home button. The screen lit up, illuminating his gaunt, hollow face. It was locked. He looked at me, then back at the phone. He carefully, slowly, maneuvered the phone in front of my face. He held it there, waiting. I must have shifted in my sleep, or the Face ID caught the angle because the phone unlocked. He pulled it back quickly. He started typing. He stood there for 5 minutes, typing on my phone, scrolling, reading. Then he put the phone back on the bucket, exactly where I had left it. He stood up, pocketed my keys, and walked toward the kitchen. He didn't go back to the attic. He went out the back door. The video ended. I sat there in the silent house, unable to breathe. He had unlocked my phone. He had been in my phone. Why? I quickly opened my text messages. There was a thread at the top. It was to Mom, sent at 3:22 a.m. Merry Christmas, Mom. I'm coming over early. I have a surprise for you. There was a reply from my mom. Oh, wonderful. We're up. The door's unlocked. Come right in. See you soon. I looked at the time on my phone. It was 8:15 a.m. My truck was gone. The intruder wasn't just stealing my car. He wasn't just running away. He went to my parents' house. He used my phone to make sure the door would be unlocked. I didn't think. I didn't grab my coat. I didn't grab the toolbox. I ran out the front door and sprinted down the snowy street. I banged on the door of the first neighbor I saw, an elderly woman named Mrs. Gable. She opened the door, looking terrified at the sight of me, breathless and wild-eyed. I need your phone, I screamed. Please, it's an emergency. She handed me her landline handset through the screen door. I dialed my mom's number. It rang. Pick up, I pleaded. Finally, the line clicked. Hello? It was my mom. Her voice sounded strange, tight. Mom, I yelled. Listen to me. Get out of the house. That's not me. The person in the house is not me. There was a silence on the other end. A long, heavy silence. Jason, she whispered. She sounded confused. What do you mean? You're in the kitchen. My stomach dropped out of my body. Mom, I am not in the kitchen. I am at my house. My truck was stolen. The guy who stole it is in the kitchen. Is Dad there? He's in the garage, she stammered. Her voice was trembling now. Jason, who is that man? Put the phone down and run out the front door. Right now. Do not go into the kitchen. He's cutting the ham, she whispered, her voice barely audible. He's been facing away from me the whole time. He has his hood up. He's wearing your Carhartt jacket. I thought he was just being quiet. Mom, run! I heard a sound on the other end. The sound of a drawer opening. The utensil drawer. My mom let out a gasp. He turned around, she whispered. Then the line went dead. I dropped the phone and fell to my knees in Mrs. Gable's porch snow. Mrs. Gable was already on her cell phone with 911. The next 20 minutes were a blur of flashing lights and me screaming at police officers in the back of a squad car. They drove me to my parents' house. When we pulled up, my truck was parked in the driveway, crooked, like it had been slammed into park while still moving. The front door of the house was wide open. I tried to run out, but the cops held me back. They went in with guns drawn. I waited by the hood of the cruiser, sobbing, waiting for gunshots, waiting for them to bring out body bags. Instead, after 5 minutes, an officer waved me over. I ran inside. My mom and dad were sitting at the kitchen table. They were alive. They were physically unharmed. But they looked broken. My dad was staring at the wall, pale as a sheet. My mom was shaking uncontrollably, clutching a dish towel. The kitchen was a mess. The holiday ham was on the counter, stabbed repeatedly with a carving knife until it was just shredded meat. Where is he? I asked, looking around. He left, the officer said grimly, out the back. My mom looked up at me. Her eyes were wide and haunted. He didn't say a word, she whispered. He just turned around, and he smiled. He had teeth like animals. He looked at me, and then he looked at the picture of you on the fridge. She swallowed hard. He took the picture, she said, and then he walked out the back door. They never found him. We found out later that the squatter had been living in the attic of my new house for months, maybe years, before the bank even foreclosed. He had a little nest up there made of insulation and stolen clothes. He wasn't just a squatter, he was a mimic. The police found journals in the attic. He had been watching the previous owners too, writing down their schedules, writing down what they said, practicing being them. But with me, he didn't just want to watch. He wanted to try my life on for size. I sold the house a month later. I took a $20,000 loss, and I didn't care. I moved back into an apartment complex on the 3rd floor with a 24-hour doorman. But I still don't sleep well. Every time I get a text message from an unknown number, or every time I misplace my keys for a second, I get that cold feeling on the back of my neck. This happened back in December of 2021. I honestly haven't told many people about this, mostly because I feel like a total idiot for not seeing the red flags sooner. You know how in horror movies you yell at the screen because the main character is doing something obviously stupid? Yeah, that was me. But in my defense, when you're in the moment, your brain tries to rationalize everything. You don't want to believe you're in danger. I was living in Chicago at the time, working a corporate sales job that was sucking the soul out of me. My boss, a guy named Mr. Sterling, was this wealthy, eccentric dude who owned a massive property out in the suburbs. Lake Forest, if you know the area. It's one of those neighborhoods where the driveways are longer than most city blocks, and the trees are so old they block out half the streetlights. Sterling asked me if I wanted to house sit for him over the holidays. He and his wife were flying to Aspen for 2 weeks, and he needed someone to keep an eye on the place, water the plants, and feed their 2 massive Great Danes. He offered to pay me $2,000 for the trouble. Being single, newly broke from student loans, and having 0 plans for Christmas, I said yes in a heartbeat. I drove up there on December 20th. My car looked like a joke parked in his circular driveway next to his Tesla and Range Rover. Sterling gave me the tour. The place was ridiculous. Smart home everything, heated floors, a wine cellar, and a security system that looked like it belonged in the Pentagon. He gave me the code, showed me how to arm the perimeter, and introduced me to the dogs, Duke and Baron. They were friendly enough once they sniffed me out. The first couple of days were pretty sweet. I was living the high life, drinking expensive espresso in the morning and playing video games on an 85-inch TV at night. It was quiet, dead quiet. The kind of silence you don't get in the city. On the afternoon of the 23rd, things got weird. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich, just ham and cheese, nothing fancy, when the doorbell rang. It wasn't the normal ding-dong. It was this deep orchestral chime that echoed through the whole ground floor. I checked the camera feed on the iPad mounted on the wall. There was a guy standing on the front porch. He wasn't wearing a delivery uniform. He had on a faded Carhartt jacket, baggy jeans, and a Santa hat that looked like it had been through the wash about 50 times. He was holding a clipboard. I debated ignoring him, but the dogs started barking their heads off, so I figured I'd just get rid of him. I opened the heavy oak door, leaving the storm door locked. "Can I help you?" I asked. The guy looked up. He was probably in his late 40s, with a patchy beard and eyes that looked a little too wide, like he'd had a few too many espressos or something stronger. "Hey there, boss," he said. His voice was raspy. "Just doing the rounds for the neighborhood holiday fund. We're collecting for the local shelter. You guys usually donate a check." He didn't look like he was from any charity I'd ever heard of. Plus, Sterling had left me a list of contractors and people who might stop by. Landscapers, pool guys, but he never mentioned door-to-door charity collectors. "The homeowners aren't here right now," I said, keeping it brief. "I'm just watching the place." The guy's smile didn't fade, but his eyes shifted. He looked past me, scanning the hallway behind me. "Oh, house sitter, huh? Nice gig. You here all alone then?" That question set off every alarm bell in my head. I'm a guy, about 6 foot, and I can handle myself. But something about the way he asked, casual but probing, made my stomach turn. "I'm busy," I said, ignoring the question. "You'll have to come back when Mr. Sterling is home in January." I went to close the door, but he took a half step forward, pressing his hand against the glass of the storm door. "Come on, man, just $5? It's Christmas." "No," I said firmly. I slammed the main door and locked the deadbolt. My heart was hammering a little faster than it should have been. I watched the camera feed. The guy stood there for a solid minute, just staring at the door. Then, he slowly turned and walked off the porch. I didn't see a car. He just walked down the long driveway and disappeared into the tree line near the road. I tried to shake it off. I told myself I was being paranoid. It's the holidays. Weirdos come out of the woodwork looking for cash. That night, a snowstorm rolled in. We're talking heavy, wet snow, the kind that sticks to everything. By 9 p.m., the wind was howling, rattling the windows. I poured myself a glass of Sterling's bourbon, don't tell him that, and sat down to watch Die Hard. Around 10:30, the dogs shot up from the rug. They ran to the back sliding glass door, the one that leads out to the patio and the pool area, and started growling. Not barking, growling. That low, guttural sound that vibrates in your chest. "What is it, boys?" I asked, putting my drink down. I walked over to the glass doors. It was pitch black outside. The patio lights were off, and with the snow coming down, I couldn't see 5 feet past the glass. I flipped the switch for the floodlights. The yard lit up. The pool was covered, buried in snow. The patio furniture looked like white lumps. I scanned the yard. Nothing. No deer, no raccoons. "It's just the wind, guys," I said, trying to convince myself more than the dogs, but they wouldn't settle. Duke, the bigger one, was pacing back and forth in front of the glass, his hackles raised. I checked the security panel. All zones were green, secured. I went back to the couch, but I couldn't focus on the movie. I kept looking over my shoulder. You know that feeling when the air in the room feels heavy, like you're being watched? I felt that. I eventually fell asleep on the couch. I woke up the next morning, Christmas Eve, with a stiff neck and a dry mouth. The snow had stopped, leaving a pristine white blanket over everything. I let the dogs out and made coffee. While they were doing their business, I decided to walk the perimeter of the house, just to check. Call it intuition. I walked around to the back patio. The snow was untouched, smooth and perfect. I felt a little better. Then I rounded the corner to the side of the house, where the garage service door was. My heart dropped into my stomach. There were footprints. They weren't mine. They were big, heavy boot prints. They started at the tree line, came up to the side of the house, and stopped right under the kitchen window. Then they paced back and forth, like someone had been standing there for a while. And then they trailed off toward the back of the property, into the woods. But the worst part? The prints were fresh. It had snowed all night. These prints were on top of the snow. Someone had been here early this morning while I was asleep on the couch. I immediately went inside and checked all the locks. The kitchen window, the one the footprints were under, was locked, but I noticed something I hadn't seen before. There were smudge marks on the glass, on the outside, like someone had pressed their face and hands against it, trying to see in. I was freaking out now. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Sterling. It went straight to voicemail. "Hi, you've reached Arthur Sterling. We are currently out of the country." I left a message. "Hey, Mr. Sterling, "It's Mike. Listen, some weird stuff is happening. There was a guy yesterday, and now I found footprints looking in the windows. I'm thinking about calling the police." I debated calling 911 right then. But what would I say? Someone walked in my yard? In the suburbs, unless someone is actively breaking in, the cops take an hour to show up, write a report, and leave. I decided to wait. If I saw one more thing, I was dialing 911. I spent the rest of the day on edge. I kept a baseball bat I found in the garage next to me. I made sure the dogs were inside. Around 4 p.m., the sun started going down. I was in the kitchen, feeding the dogs, when I heard a thud from upstairs. It was heavy, like a boot hitting the floor. I froze. The house was supposed to be empty. The dogs looked up, ears perked. I grabbed the bat. "Hello?" I yelled. My voice cracked a little. "I'm calling the police." Silence. I stood at the bottom of the grand staircase, looking up into the darkness of the second-floor hallway. I didn't want to go up there, but I had to know. I signaled the dogs to come with me. Having two 150-pound dogs gave me a shred of courage. We walked up the stairs, the wood creaking under my feet. I checked the guest rooms. Empty. I checked the master bedroom. Empty. Then I checked the guest bathroom at the end of the hall. The window was open. Freezing cold air was blasting in. I knew for a fact I hadn't opened that window. The screen had been popped out. It was lying on the snowy roof, below. They were in the house. I didn't think. I didn't investigate. I turned around and sprinted for the stairs. "Come on, boys!" I yelled to the dogs. I was halfway down the stairs when I saw him. Standing in the foyer, blocking the front door, was the guy from yesterday, the charity guy. But he wasn't wearing the Santa hat anymore. He was wearing a dark hoodie, and he was holding a crowbar, and he wasn't alone. Another guy, younger, skinnier, was coming out of the kitchen. He was holding one of Sterling's pillowcases, and it looked full. "I told you he was home," the skinny one said. The charity guy looked at me, then at the bat, then at the dogs. "Grab the dogs, Billy. Don't let them bite." Duke and Baron, for all their size, were big babies. They barked, but they didn't attack. They were confused. I was standing on the landing of the stairs, gripping the bat so hard my knuckles were white. "I'm calling the cops right now," I screamed, pulling my phone out of my pocket. "Don't do that," the charity guy said calmly. He took a step toward the stairs. "We're almost done. Just go back upstairs, lock yourself in the bathroom, and wait 20 minutes. Nobody gets hurt." It was surreal. He was talking to me like he was customer service, like this was a transaction. "Get out!" I swung the bat at the air, trying to look menacing. The charity guy sighed. "Have it your way." He started charging up the stairs. I didn't wait. I turned and ran back up to the second floor. I dashed into the master bedroom and slammed the door. I locked it. I dragged a heavy dresser in front of it. My hands were shaking so bad, I dropped my phone twice before I could dial 911. 911, what's your emergency? "Someone is in the house. I'm at 4200 Lakeview Drive. 2 men, they have weapons." "Okay, sir, stay on the line. Officers are dispatched. Are you safe?" "I'm in the bedroom barricaded in." Then the door shuttered. He was hitting it with the crowbar. "Open up, kid. I just want the watch collection. Tell me where the safe is." I didn't answer. I backed into the walk-in closet. This closet was the size of my entire apartment back in the city, and locked that door too. I huddled in the corner behind a rack of fur coats, listening to the wood splintering in the bedroom. I heard the bedroom door give way. I heard heavy boots stomping on the hardwood. "Where are you?" the guy yelled. He sounded angry now. I held my breath. I could hear him tearing the room apart, drawers being ripped out, the mattress being flipped. Then the handle of the closet door jiggled. "I know you're in there," he growled right against the door. I gripped the bat, ready to swing at the first thing I saw. I prepared myself to die. I'm not gonna lie. I was crying. I was terrified. Suddenly, sirens. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Loud, wailing sirens getting closer and closer. "Cops!" the skinny guy yelled from downstairs. "Damn it!" the guy at the door screamed. He kicked the closet door once, hard, cracking the wood. But he didn't break through. I heard running footsteps, the thudding of boots going down the stairs, the back door slamming. I stayed in that closet for another 10 minutes until the dispatcher told me the police had cleared the house and it was safe to come out. When I came downstairs, the house was a wreck. They had smashed the TV, emptied the silverware drawers, and trashed the living room. The police took my statement. They found the screen on the roof and footprints all over the house. They told me the guys had likely been casing the place for weeks. They knew the Sterlings were gone. They just didn't expect a house sitter to actually stay there. They thought I was just stopping by to feed the dogs and leaving. That's why the guy came to the door the first day, to check if I was living there. I packed my bags that night. I wasn't staying another minute. I took the dogs to a luxury kennel nearby that Sterling's assistant arranged and drove straight back to my crappy apartment in the city. I spent Christmas Day eating Chinese takeout alone, traumatized but alive. But here's the part that really messes with me, the part that keeps me up at night. A few days later, Mr. Sterling came back early to deal with the damage. He called me to thank me for protecting the house and the dogs and to get the details. We were walking through the master bedroom, looking at the smashed door frame. "I'm just glad they didn't get into the wall safe," Sterling said, moving a painting to reveal a keypad. "Yeah," I said. "The guy with the crowbar was screaming about the watch collection." Sterling paused. He turned to me slowly, a confused look on his face. "Mike," he said, "I don't have a watch collection. All my watches are in a safety deposit box at the bank downtown. Everyone knows that." I felt a chill go down my spine. But he was specific. He asked for the watches. Sterling frowned. "The only person who thinks I keep watches here is my ex-brother-in-law. He's been in and out of rehab for years. He threatened to burn the house down last Christmas if I didn't give him money." The police looked into it. They showed me a photo lineup a week later. The charity guy? It wasn't the brother-in-law. It was a guy named Greg, a career criminal from the next town over. But the skinny guy, the one I saw holding the pillowcase? That was Sterling's son, his estranged son, who Sterling had told me was away at school in Europe. Turns out he wasn't in Europe. He had flunked out and gotten involved with some bad people. He knew the alarm codes, he knew the layout. That's why the perimeter alarm didn't trip when they came in the first time. He disabled it. The footprints I saw that morning, the ones looking in the window, they weren't looking in. The police found a sleeping bag and food wrappers in the crawl space under the guest house in the backyard. They estimated someone had been staying there for at least 3 days. They were already on the property when I arrived. They were watching me play video games. They were watching me sleep. They were waiting for me to leave so they could ransack the place. But because I never left the house due to the snow and the cozy setup, they got impatient and decided to do a home invasion instead. If I hadn't heard that thud upstairs, I would have been sitting on the couch with my back to the stairs when they came down. I don't think they planned on leaving any witnesses. You know those people who have their Christmas shopping done by Thanksgiving? The ones who wrap everything with perfectly creased corners and matching ribbons? Yeah, I hate those people. I've never been one of them. I'm the guy running into Target at 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, fighting over the last dented box of chocolates. But 3 years ago, my procrastination didn't just leave me stressed out, it almost got me killed. I'm sharing this because I need to get it out of my head. And honestly, if it stops one person from answering a sketch Craigslist ad in the middle of the night, then it's worth typing this out. It was 2021. I was 23 years old, living in Columbus, Ohio. My dad is a huge collector of vintage Coca-Cola memorabilia. It's his whole personality. I had completely dropped the ball on his gift, and I knew a gift card to Home Depot wasn't going to cut it this year because he'd just done a massive favor helping me fix my transmission. I needed something big. So, on December 23rd, at around 10 p.m., I was doom-scrolling Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, desperate for anything cool. That's when I found a post titled, "Vintage 1950s Coca-Cola Santa Store Display, Animated, Free to Good Home." The description was weirdly brief. Cleaning out the barn. Wife says it has to go tonight or it goes in the trash. Works perfectly. Heavy. U-Haul. Merry Christmas. There was no photo, just the text. Free? These things go for like $500 on eBay, even in bad condition. I figured the guy just didn't know what he had, or maybe it was damaged. But for free, I wasn't asking questions. I messaged him instantly. He replied 4 minutes later. "Come now, 4400 Blackwood Road. Gate is open." I threw on my coat, grabbed my keys, and jumped in my truck. The GPS said it was about 45 minutes away, out in the boonies toward the Hocking Hills area. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Why would I? It was a quick pickup. That was mistake number one. The drive started out fine, just highway and slush. But the closer I got to the destination, the darker it got. The streetlights vanished, replaced by tall, looming pines that crowded the narrow 2-lane road. It had started snowing again, that heavy, wet snow that plasters your windshield and makes your wipers useless. By the time I turned onto Blackwood Road, my cell service was gone. The road wasn't even paved. It was a gravel track full of potholes hidden under the fresh white layer. My truck bounced and skidded, and I considered turning back. I'm not going to lie, the vibe was off. It was dead quiet out there, just the sound of gravel crunching and the wind hissing through the trees. But I kept thinking about how excited my dad would be, so I pushed that gut feeling down. I spotted the mailbox number barely reflecting in my high beams. The driveway was long, winding uphill into the woods. At the top sat a farmhouse that looked like it hadn't seen a coat of paint since the Nixon administration. But the weirdest part was the Christmas lights. They were everywhere. And I don't mean a nice, tasteful display. I mean manic. Strands of mismatched lights were draped over the porch, the gutters, the bushes, even lying in piles on the snow. Some were blinking rapidly, others were dead. It looked like a chaotic explosion of color against the rotting gray wood of the house. I parked next to a rusted-out tractor. Before I could even undo my seatbelt, the front door of the house opened. A man stepped out. He was huge, easily 6'4", wearing generic gray coveralls and a Santa hat that looked dirty. He didn't wave. He just stood on the porch, staring at my truck. I took a breath, put on my friendly neighbor smile, and hopped out. The cold hit me instantly, biting through my jacket. "Hey, I'm Mark," I called out, walking toward him. "Here for the display?" The man didn't move until I was at the bottom of the porch steps. Up close, he looked rough. His face was pale, like dough, and his eyes were wide, darting around nervously. He was shivering, which was odd because he was a big guy and he had layers on. "You came alone?" he asked. His voice was raspy, like he had a sore throat. "Yeah, just me," I said, instantly regretting it. "Although my brother knows I'm here, He's waiting for me back at the house to help unload. A lie. A standard safety lie I use when buying stuff online. The man nodded, twitching slightly. Good. It's in the barn. Wife says it goes. Tonight. He jerked his thumb toward a structure about 50 yards behind the house. It was a massive barn, dark and looming. Is your wife around? I asked, trying to make conversation as we started walking through the snow. Want to thank her for the deal. He stopped walking. He pointed a trembling finger toward the farmhouse porch. I looked back. I hadn't noticed it before because of the blinding Christmas lights, but there was a rocking chair in the far corner of the porch, deep in the shadows. Someone was sitting in it, a silhouette wrapped in heavy blankets, facing us. She watches, the man whispered. She likes to make sure the guests are taken care of. A chill that had nothing to do with the weather went down my spine. The figure didn't move. No wave, no nod, just a dark shape observing us. Right, I said, turning back to the barn. Let's get this loaded up. I've got a long drive. The big man, let's call him Bill, fumbled with a heavy padlock on the barn door. His hands were shaking so bad he dropped the keys twice in the snow. I bent down to help him grab them, and I noticed his fingernails. They were cracked and stained dark, like dried grease or something else. Finally, the lock clicked. He slid the heavy wooden door open on its rusty track. The smell hit me first. You know that smell when you open an old freezer that stopped working a month ago? That sickly sweet, rotting meat smell mixed with musty cardboard? It washed over me, thick and heavy. Raccoons, Bill mumbled, seeing me recoil. Damn things get in the walls and die. Can't find 'em. He flipped a switch, and a row of dim, buzzing shop lights flickered on overhead. The inside of the barn was a nightmare of Christmas cheer. It was packed floor to rafter with holiday decorations. But not boxed up. Everything was set up. Dozens of plastic nutcrackers stood in formation like a little army. Wreaths hung from every available nail, and in the center, cleared of clutter, was a scene set up like a living room. There was a ratty armchair, a fake fireplace made of cardboard, and a Christmas tree that looked dead and brown. Where's the Coca-Cola display? I asked, scanning the room. I stayed near the open door. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, but my brain was trying to rationalize it. He's a hoarder. Hoarders smell. It's fine. Back here, Bill said, walking toward the shadows in the rear of the barn. Got him set up special. I followed him, stepping over tangled extension cords. In the back corner, standing next to a workbench, was the Santa. It was about 5 feet tall, wearing the classic red suit, holding a Coke bottle. It looked old, definitely vintage. Does it work? I asked. Oh yeah, Bill said. He sounded breathless. He moves, just gotta plug him in. He bent down to plug a cord into a power strip on the floor. While he was down there, I stepped closer to inspect the Santa. The fabric of the suit was filthy, stained with dark patches. I reached out to touch the material to see if it was velvet or felt. My hand brushed the Santa's chest. It wasn't hard plastic or fiberglass underneath. It was soft. It yielded to my touch. I pulled my hand back. What is this made of? Bill didn't answer. He just stood up, blocking my path back to the door. He wasn't looking at me, though. He was looking over my shoulder, toward the open barn door, toward the house. Is she watching? Bill whispered, tears welling up in his eyes. Tell me she's watching. Who? Your wife? I stepped to the side, trying to keep distance between us. Yeah, man, I think so. Look, I changed my mind. I don't have room in the truck. No, Bill shouted, causing me to jump. He lunged forward and grabbed my arm. His grip was insanely strong. You have to take it. If you don't take it, she gets mad. You don't know what she does when she's mad. Get off me! I shoved him. He stumbled back, crashing into the workbench. A jar of screws fell, shattering on the concrete. The noise was deafening in the enclosed space. Then, a sound came from the Santa display. It wasn't a mechanical whirring. It wasn't a gear turning. It was a low, wet gurgle. I froze. I stared at the display. The head of the Santa slumped forward slightly, the beard shifting. Beneath the white synthetic beard, I saw skin. Real, gray, pore-marked skin. And an eye. A human eye, bloodshot and terrified, blinked at me through a hole cut in the rubber mask. My brain broke for a second. I couldn't process it. It was a person. There was a person inside the suit. He's broken, Bill sobbed, sliding down to the floor, curling into a ball. He stopped working yesterday. That's why I need a new one. I need a new one or she'll use me again. The person in the suit let out a muffled whimper, trying to move, but he was rigid. I realized with a sick jolt that he was duct-taped or bound underneath the baggy red costume, attached to some kind of metal frame to keep him upright. I didn't ask questions. I didn't try to be a hero. I ran. I bolted for the barn door, slipping on the sawdust and snow. "Don't leave!" Bill screamed behind me. "Please, take his place. I can't do it anymore." I hit the cold air outside and sprinted for my truck. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. I fumbled for my keys, dropping them in the snow by the tire. "No, no, no!" I hissed, scrambling in the slush. I grabbed them, jammed the key into the door, and threw myself into the driver's seat. I locked the doors instantly. I looked up at the farmhouse porch. The blanket had fallen off the figure in the rocking chair. It wasn't a woman. It wasn't even a person. It was a mannequin, dressed in a wig and a dress, with a speaker taped to its chest. I cranked the engine. The tires spun in the mud and snow, flinging slush everywhere. I slammed it into reverse, fishtailing wildly, and nearly took out the mailbox as I peeled out of the driveway. I didn't stop driving until I hit a gas station 20 miles away. I ran inside, shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone, and called for help. I told them everything: the barn, the smell, the guy in the suit, the crazy man. The police met me there. I had to lead them back to the house because they couldn't find the address in the system. When we got back to 4400 Blackwood Road, the Christmas lights were off. The house was pitch black. The cops kicked down the barn door. It was empty. The decorations were there. The army of nutcrackers, the tree, the weird living room setup. But the Santa display was gone. They searched the house. They found Bill in the basement. He was dead. It looked like he had done it to himself. But here's the part that messes me up. The part that I haven't told my dad, or my girlfriend, or anyone except the detective. The police found a room upstairs. It was set up like a control center. There were monitors showing live feeds of the driveway, the porch, and the interior of the barn. And on the desk, there was a microphone connected to a wire that ran out the window and down to the porch, to the speaker on the mannequin. Bill wasn't the monster. He wasn't the mastermind. The autopsy showed Bill had older scars, burns, cuts. He was malnourished. The police figured out that Bill had been living in terror of the wife for years. He believed the mannequin was real, or rather, he believed the voice coming from it was real. But who was on the microphone? Who was watching the monitors upstairs while Bill was crying in the barn with me? Someone else was in that house. Someone who watched me run away. Someone who cleaned out the Santa victim before the cops arrived and vanished into the woods. They never found the guy in the Santa suit. They never found the person who was upstairs. I am still trying to figure out what would have happened if I couldn't escape that night. Unfortunately, the person from the control room and his distorted mind is still out there, free. Sometimes it's better to just buy a gift card for Christmas present. You know how those holiday commercials always show delivery drivers as Santa's helpers? Smiling dudes in clean outfits handing out perfect gifts to happy families? Yeah, that's BS. I did deliveries for a third-party company one holiday season back in 2019. I won't say who, but think of the places that rent plain white vans when they're short on trucks. That was me. No fancy clothes, just a vest and a scanner that died every 20 mins. It sucked. You got paid for each route, but if you didn't finish, you missed out on the holiday pay. And I really needed that money because rent in Philly had gone up, and I was screwed if I didn't get a big check in December. This happened on Christmas Eve. I know, right? That's when it's crazy busy. I was on my last stop. The scanner said I only had one left. It was 9:45 p.m. I was so tired. I'd been driving since 6 a.m., running on gas station coffee and jerky. The van's heater was busted and stuck on max, so I was sweating even though it was freezing outside. The GPS took me out of the city toward Chester County. You know how fast things get rural out there. No streetlights, twisty roads, and houses set back behind trees. The address was on Old Mill Lane, a road I'd never heard of. Sounded pretty, but it wasn't. It was just a dirt road. The van rattled so bad, I thought the door would fall off. The headlights showed nothing but trees. I finally got to the driveway. There was a gate, but it was open. I drove in. The driveway was long and went up a hill. The house was big, modern looking, with black trim and giant windows. But it was dark. Not everyone's asleep dark, but power's out dark. No lights anywhere. I checked the scanner. Package ID 884X. Recipient Gary Miller. Had to sign. Great, I said. Signature needed at 10 at night. If I didn't get a signature, I had to take the box back and wouldn't finish the route. I didn't want that. I figured they were in the back or went to bed early and forgot the lights. I grabbed the box, which was heavy, and said, "Fragile," and got out. The cold air woke me up fast. I went to the porch. The snow wasn't shoveled, but there were tracks like people had been walking all over. I didn't think about it. I rang the bell but couldn't hear anything. I knocked hard. "Delivery! Speed post!" Silence. The wind blew and something rattled. I waited. I went to knock again when I saw the door was unlocked. It was open a small bit. My company says never go inside, but they also say get a signature. "Mr. Miller," I shouted, pushing the door open a little. "Delivery." The hallway was black. It smelled like metal, like blood, and also like cleaner. I stopped. My gut said run, but my brain said maybe they're fixing something. Then someone spoke from upstairs. "Just a minute." It was a man. He sounded calm but out of breath. "Sorry," I answered, stepping back. "Need a signature." "Coming down," he said. I heard heavy footsteps. A man came into the light. He had a flashlight shining in my face, so I couldn't see him well. "Rough night to be working," he said, sounding nice. "Tell me about it," I replied. "Just need you to sign here, Mr. Miller." I held out the scanner. The man stepped onto the porch. He was huge with a jacket zipped up and a hat pulled down. He wasn't wearing gloves, and his hands were very red. He took the pen from me. "Where do I sign?" he asked. "In the box," I said. He scribbled something. "Thanks," I said. "Merry Christmas." "You too," he said. He didn't grab the box, just stood there. I turned to leave and heard a thump from inside. I stopped. The man was still there and shining the light at me. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Dog," he said quickly. "Big dog, clumsy." "Okay," I said. I got in the van. I felt strange. I started the engine. It made noise, but it didn't start. "No," I whispered. "Not now." I tried again. Still nothing. I looked at the porch. The man was just watching me. I checked my phone. 1 bar. I couldn't load the mechanic's number. I rolled down the window. "Hey," I yelled. "Sorry to bother you, but my van won't start. Got jumper cables?" The man took a while to answer. Then he walked down the steps. "I might in the garage." He walked toward the van like he was going to fight me. He got closer and lowered the light. I saw his jacket. It was stained with dark stuff, wet stains, and his boots had mud on them with pinkish stuff in it. He stopped at the door. "Open the hood," he said. I looked at his face. He was smiling, but his eyes were cold, and he had a scratch on his neck. "Actually," I said, shaking, "I think I just messed it up. Let me try again." "Open the hood," he said again and grabbed the handle. I locked the door as his hand touched it. He yanked on it, and the van shook. "Open the door," he said, his voice deep. "I'm calling the cops," I yelled, holding up my phone, but it wouldn't load anything. The man didn't move. He raised the flashlight, a metal one. He hit the window. The glass blew apart and cut me. I screamed and went to the other seat. He reached through and grabbed my vest. I kicked him, but he didn't care. He tried to open the door. I kicked the passenger door open and fell out. I ran toward the woods. It was dark, and I fell, cutting my hands. "You can't run!" he shouted. He was doing something to the van. I hid behind a tree, scared. He wasn't coming into the woods. He was taking the battery out of the van. He didn't want the van. He just didn't want me to leave. Why? Then I looked at the house. I could see inside. The room was upside down, and there was a pile of stuff on the floor. A foot was sticking out. A woman's foot with a Christmas sock. I covered my mouth so I wouldn't throw up. The man wasn't Mr. Miller. He had killed everyone and I had walked in. He was trying to get away. He didn't have a car, or it was broken. I knew why he didn't chase me. He was going to get a weapon. I had to move. I couldn't go down the driveway. I went into the woods. I walked for a long time. My feet were cold and my ears hurt from the glass. Finally, I saw lights, a road. I went out of the trees and to the road and waved at a truck. It was a snowplow. The driver saw the blood and let me in and called the police. We waited for the police. The heater felt great. The police came to the house a short time after that. They found Mr. Miller trying to get the family's car running, but he couldn't work the push start. His name was Vance. He had escaped from jail and was looking for money and a car. The Millers were in the living room and were dead. But the news didn't say this part, the reason I quit the next day and never delivered things again. The police looked at the scanner from my van. They asked about the signature. I told them that he signed it. The detective showed me the signature on the scanner. It wasn't a name. He had written, "Thanks for the ride." He planned to kill me when I opened the door. He wasn't interested in my package. He wanted to use my van to escape because nobody stops a delivery driver at Christmas. If my van had started when I turned the key, I would have opened the door for him. I would be dead, and he would be driving my van, driving my route, to hide. So, when you see delivery drivers this Christmas, don't just be mad that your package is late. Be thankful they came at all, and turn on your porch light. You don't know what's in the dark.